Well, greetings, everyone. Happy Prime Tuesday, and thank you for joining us with another episode of How Would You Slice That? If you're new to the show, we try to balance just community hangout, community just discussion time with maybe some slicing strategies or tips or tricks. And with me, as always, is my co-host, Dr. Lawrence Nightingale, who
Hey,
is
Vicky.
a local educator in our area. Hello, Lawrence. How are you doing this busy holiday season?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. A little busier than I had anticipated, but doing good. Doing good. My printers have been chugging along right away, and made some surprising stuff these last couple weeks, and actually it made a repair
Oh,
my first repair to my P1S, as a matter of fact. Yeah.
oh, how'd that go?
Well, it was easier than I thought it would be. Um, uh, my nozzle had jammed because I made a really bad mistake. I used PLA, but I set my settings for PET G, and so the temperature naturally being higher and stuff like that, you print for long enough with that higher temperature setting that it starts to get into your gears and stuff like that, and there's no hope of ever getting it out. So wound up changing out the my little wiper arm, and I changed out the hot end, and um, I changed out my drive as well. So I bought some spare parts when I got my unit, and they were all very easy to take out and put back in. So it's one thing when you make a mistake and you got to wait a week or two to get your printer back up and running. But all I had to do was just kind of, get the parts that I future proofed myself with and put them in. Just a few screws that came with that I could take in and put out with the Allen keys, Allen wrenches from Bamboo, and it was pretty straightforward. So but and it was straightforward because I'm coming from history where I used to crimp large resistors to put into hot ends.
Yes, it's
Back when
definitely
I first started
more
crimping.
inviting nowadays.
Yes, yes. So they've got these nifty little ceramic heaters that are flat, and the thermistor they have a retainer clip that holds the thermistor bulb and the heater on the back of the unit. Fan goes right in, everything slides in, two or three screws. Then very not something that was terribly aggravating. So good, it was a good experience.
That's
How
nice.
about you? How have things been these last couple of weeks?
We're doing good. As far as holiday seasons, tomorrow is the last day for shipping for U.S. Postal Service, like first class. So that means like my season's over, so that's good. We're coming to an end and everything.
Good.
And then on the children's side, it's a science fair season, which I love.
Uh-huh.
And so Sagan, my oldest this year, had he is doing a 3D printing experiment. Let me show you real quick. He is measuring the air quality differences based on different printing temperatures. And he has this is his closet. He cleaned out all of his Nerf weapons and all that and filled in, he has his like air sensor and his little bamboo mini. And
Wow.
what's really neat is like he doesn't have to open up his closet door. Like, he has that Bamboo Handy app, so he can start the prints there, and then he can just watch the air monitor on a phone app and everything. So it's making me. I never put my Bamboo Mini on the network. I mean, yeah, on the network. I still do SD cards. So it's
Mm.
making me like seeing the ease that he does all this stuff with. It's making me like, hey, you know what? I think I want to. I want to be on the network too. I think.
I think that the network is what put me onto Duet hardware when I could just load a file over the air and not move the SD card. Like I was like, whoa, okay, me and SD cards were kind of done forever after that. And Bamboo just takes it to another level. So it's all within one package, and you just send it to the machine. Whereas with Duet, you have to pick it up off of your desktop and then move it to the machine. So Yeah, 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 yeah. I mean, the transferring of files over the network is it's really really a substantial benefit. You once you get started, it's going to be
I think
you're going
it's
to be very
the
happy.
watching or checking on the print, just from your phone or
Yes.
that's what I think I like the best.
Right, 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 and without having to buy a Raspberry Pi in order to do it. So that's also good. I also this week I've been printing even more Christmas ornaments. One of my friends just graduated with their PhD in writing. Okay, and so I printed up a ornament that said Dr. Erickson's first Christmas. So that's fun. Like brings in the kind of the timeliness and the customization
Right.
right there in front of you.
What 3D printing excels at is the
Yes, yes,
customization.
yes, yes. So I was surprised I was able to do it, and they were surprised to receive it. So everybody won on that one. Yep, and of course, I think I've the printing that I've done. Also, part of the failure that came this weekend was because I had not changed out my cutter on my bamboo and the wiper on my bamboo, and I've been doing a lot of intense color changing prints since I got the machine at 3D Printopia in, was that October?
September, October, September,
end of September. Yeah, so
I should know. Should know faster.
Yeah, I mean, we've just been creating so much history since then. But since I had it in September, I've done a lot of color change stuff, and I said, Lawrence, you probably gave yourself this problem, this jam, by not maintaining it and changing out those parts. So in my mind now, I'm starting to get a little bit of a schedule of when things should be changed out, when things should be, maintained or order new parts, just so you can just keep going, almost like rotating your tires. So yeah, it's been, learning experience, and I'm really, really glad that I future-proofed myself. Really glad. Yeah.
Trying to think of a segue from future-proof to part of proving the future is being practical.
It is practical. Future-proofing yourself is a practical decision, and practical things are great things to talk about.
On the subject of practical, maybe I should get to our introducing our guest tonight. You ready?
Yep.
All right. Many of our episodes of the show so far have featured guests who do 3D printing as a creative outlet. Today's guest, although certainly creative, was drawn to another aspect of 3D printing instead. 8 years ago next month, our guest started the Practical Printing Station on YouTube. And that channel, along with an accompanied website and Facebook group, celebrated the parts of 3D printing that solve problems and improve lives. But that's not all that you're going to find on his channel. There are also like a nice repository of printer builds and Fusion 360 tutorials, PrusaSlicer hacks, which maybe we'll see one today, and upgrades to laser cutters. He works with both the FFF FDM printers as well as the SLA resin printers. And on the subject of resin printing, at the East Coast RepRap Festival in 2023, he entered the very first resin printed car into the 3D printed derby races.
Oh.
He is very community focused. For example, he is one of the organizers and co-hosts of the 1440 Makers. If you're not familiar with that, it is a 24-hour charity live stream. And last year's stream, 1440 Makers raised $10,000 for the Maui Strong Fire Relief Fund. And as a little bit of a spoiler alert, they have another fundraiser coming up in January. So I suspect we may talk about that tonight. Last but not least, he is a steadfast supporter and a firm believer in the power of tacos. So let's go ahead and welcome Practical Printing, Chris Russell. Hello.
You had me.
Yeah, had you tacos?
Wow. I need you to write my resume next time. That was incredible. How
Well,
are you?
where should we start? I mean, I think Lawrence likes to hear. You want to hear about his journey to 3D printing?
Yes. How did you make your first decision to 3D print and move forward in this practice?
So that's an easy one. Gosh, and we were just talking dates a few minutes ago. Somewhere around 2012, I had developed an invention, which I'm actually seeing companies make now. You're all familiar with the MagSafe power supply,
Mm-hmm.
the Apple MagSafe. You've never
Like
seen it, Vicky?
No.
Oh, okay. Apple's laptop power supplies, they call them MagSafe. They have the electrical connections and there's magnets on it. So it attaches to the laptop. If somebody trips on the cord, it just pulls away.
Okay, I know. Okay, I've seen that in action.
I was on a job site and I saw somebody using a trim router working on some very expensive millwork in a conference room. And he had a shop vac attached to it to clean up the dust. And he's going along this 20-foot shop vac cord and extension cord behind him. Somebody, one of the drywallers or something, had come stumbling through and tripped over the cord. Yanked this router out of the guy's hand, that's spinning at 30,000 RPM as he's trying to trim the
table
veneer off the cabinets and stuff. Needless to say, there was a lot of blood stains that didn't come out of the millwork. The guy was okay, but he had some serious damage to himself. But even worse, there's about $40,000 worth of damage to the millwork because of the spinning router hitting it and bouncing around and everything else. So I came up with the idea of doing something similar to the MagSafe, but for vacuum connections to shop tools.
Mm-hmm.
So that if, in this case, if somebody had tripped over that vacuum hose, it would just pop it off, and the guy might lose a little bit of control of the tool, but it's not going to yank it out of his hand violently like this did.
Mm-hmm.
I started prototyping that using MDF and wood and routing and gluing PVC pieces together and stuff. And I realized it'd be a lot easier if I could just 3D print this. I started looking around, and this was back in very, very early RepRap days. So I think the Prusa i1 was probably, one of the few that was being sold at the time.
Mm-hmm.
G-Create had just launched their Kickstarter for the G-Max, which actually goes back to where I met Joel years ago.
That's where, I always think of Joel with the G-Max.
We'd met on the G-Create forums back then. But so I'm thinking I want to go big because, hey, why not? It's a big printer, had a decent tax return that year. So I ordered the Kickstarter for the G-Max printer, started trying to put that thing together and realized it was never going to go together the way it looked like. Start building my own parts for it and improvising, supporting, embracing everything. And that's where I started in 3D printing. And then technology was evolving slower back then.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized when I got to the point where I'd started the YouTube channel, I had learned a lot by force. To be able to use the tools that I bought, there was no instruction manual. There were no tutorials. There was nothing out there. So the goal when we started practical printing, and I say we because there was a few of us involved in it, actually never came out the way we originally intended it. But the goal was to be able to help educate people, show them tips and tricks of things that I'd learned the hard way, and provide them with ways to do things easier without having to go through all the hoops and learning by trial and error. Probably 40 some printers later, things have evolved to where they're at now.
Yeah.
I don't enjoy building them anymore. I just want the Apple of 3D printers. I want the press and go now.
Right. And that is progress. What would you say which printer would you say you're at the height of your assembly powers, let's say? What was the best one that you had the best experience making?
Oh gosh. I want to say the Prusa i3 kits are always the most fun to assemble.
Mm-hmm.
especially as you're going from each version to each version, because you can customize the parts. You can print them in whatever color you want to. There's aftermarket parts for them.
Mm-hmm.
And I've always enjoyed the experience with the i3 building. Putting together the XLs it's a challenge. Voron is a challenge.
Mm-hmm.
The Voron actually came very much as a time challenge, where I got the bulk of it done and then handed it to a buddy of mine to actually finish up, because we were getting ready to move and I didn't have time to finish putting it together.
Oh my goodness, that's a good friend.
So yeah, he enjoys it. Vicky would remember Dustin Chapman.
Yes.
Yep. Captain Balls. It was.
This is just footage of you doing your.
Yeah.
I've been involved with almost all of the beta releases from Prusa since the Mini,
Really?
Including the SL1. So I'm not going to lie, I'm partial to Prusa because almost every one of their printers I have blood and sweat and literal and figurative, tears into.
I believe it.
And I feel like everyone that goes out has a little bit of personal pride in helping make that better for the user. So I've always taken a lot of pride in those, but there's a lot of other good ones on the market right now too.
Wow. Yeah. Well, I have not been a Prusa person. Actually, I've had Prusa, but I've had Prusa impersonations. I've had several Maker Farm Prusa versions, and I went to Deltas for a while. You were a Delta first person for a while too, right?
Not first, but yeah, early on with the CMC Deltas.
Yes. I've got 5 or 6 of those. I've got one custom one right now in my basement that has a meter tall Z height.
Very cool.
Yeah, I made a mistake and moved it like an inch, and I could never get it calibrated again. So
there's really cool Delta customizations. Mitch 3D's done quite a few with his battery pack ones.
Yes.
We had him on the show earlier this year.
Yeah.
One of my first YouTube screens was with Dustin, where we did something we put together called the Race to H2. And H2 was the hacker kit that CMC was putting out, I want to say back in 2016, 2017.
Around there. The shorter, smaller one, right?
Yeah, it was like 24 inches, maybe, just 2 feet tall printer. It wasn't big, and we did a race stream where I think it was 3 of us. 3 of us raced against one of their staff members who was assembly person to build the printer.
Wow.
And of course he won hands down, and he sat there coaching us the rest of the way. But one of the fellows, I remember his first name was Jacob. I don't remember his last name. But I remember he was associated with the School for the Blind. So he was assembling it, but he was legally blind. But he had convinced them to do what yours is, a double wide kit. The old sheet background there. But he'd convinced him to do a double wide kit on his, or a double height kit, I should say. So his H2 was over 6 feet tall.
Whoa.
With a 9-inch circular bed.
Whoa. Wow.
I'm using inches because CMC does everything in inches.
Very, very American. Yes, absolutely. And I've got 1 inch. I've got 1 extrusions in my basement right now too.
Very cool.
So Chris, now you're tell us about the practical approach to printing that you have.
Well, I'll say one part of my philosophy has always been that if whatever you're printing makes you happy, then that item has a practical aspect to it. Whether it's dust collectors, or as a lot of people will call them, bust of superheroes or things like that. If it's something that you collect and you enjoy, then it's practical for you. But for the most part, to me, when I coined the term practical, was being able to build or replace things for around the house that you needed, or for work, or for other things. Let me see if I can show you just as an example there. All of the shelves up there, well, except for the long one in the middle, but the two side shelves, those all have 3D printed brackets on them. And it's just a board span between the two. It's a board I picked up at Hobby Lobby, I think, that's about 18 inches long, and just designed a quick mount for it, and away it went. So it's stuff like that, or I've seen people print a gear shift for their car. When we were packing up to move out here, I worked with Mark Rhodes, and he actually designed me one of the containers that he builds and sells on Etsy for game cards. I got him to scale that conceptual model for me to a size where it'll fit a standard vinyl.
Oh, really?
It's if you think of a Pelican case with the clips on it, it's a 3D printed Pelican case that I can fit, a stack of vinyls in.
Wow. Okay. That's heavy duty protection you're talking about.
It is, and to be fair, I wouldn't necessarily recommend it for everyone, because that was a 4-day print and about 6 kilograms of filament.
What can you share with us any of the artists that you had inside that Pelican case?
Sure. The one I keep up on the wall up here.
Oh, okay.
I mean, most of them were my dad's collections.
I can relate.
That's an old Johnny Rivers, Touch of Gold.
Touch of Gold. Okay.
But I've got everything in there, from early release Beatles to Motown to disco, pretty much anything from the 60s and 70s.
Okay, cool. Wow. Well, that is a very practical print, and it's preserving something that's important to you. So I suppose you still have the case around.
It is right now. Like 90% of our stuff is in a storage facility. We're living in a bedroom apartment, so
still moving.
Yeah. So once we find a place, it'll all come out, and then it'll have a permanent home. But it is providing the protection from rats and mice and everything else that might be
hanging out there.
Yeah.
Oh, good. Wow. Okay. I like that. I like that a lot. I don't, I think I have printed some practical things, but nothing on a scale, nothing on a 6 kilogram scale. So thank you for sharing that. And I guess that you printed that on your XL.
That's correct.
All right.
So that's correct. The XL is a unique beast. I mean, there's other large printers, but there's nothing in its class at its price point. A lot of people, like with the bamboos, like Vicky was showing earlier with their sons, they can do multicolor.
Yes.
A lot of the smaller printers, and even some of the systems we're seeing come out for the Vorons and the Tridents, like the Enraged Rabbit and stuff like that, they're focusing on multicolor. But 5-tool aspect of the XL really allows you to do multi-material.
Yes, it does. Yeah.
So I can use, for example, I can use PLA as a support material for a PTG case for a phone that has a coating of TPU on the outside to make it soft.
That's fascinating. Have you printed anything practically like that? And how many materials do you have available to you now?
Living in the apartment, not many. Most of my filament's in sealed containers, but I probably got, between the closet and here, I probably got about 80 rolls that are mixed up between PLA and PETG.
Wow.
All the ASA and nylon and all the little bit more exotic filaments, anything that would probably smell through the walls of the apartment, locked up.
Kept that out. Yeah, kept that out. So But have you mixed materials in your own practice, like in making things yet?
Oh,
Or?
absolutely. The phone case was just an example. I don't have one handy, but I mean, I've done that for my daughter. I did that for my granddaughter. Actually, I'd given her like an old iPhone 6 just to play with. So I'd taken a model that I'd found off printables, as a phone sleeve for that, and just set the outer layers of the print to print in TPU with the infill all in PETG and PLA for the support, and it just snapped right off. And
wow.
so,
and one thing that comes to mind with that is the kind of the different rate of shrinkage for the different materials. How much do you think that the software is able to accommodate for that, if at all? And if it doesn't, that's fine too. But that's the first thing I'm thinking about.
That's a good question. I think with PLA and PTG, I don't think I think the shrinkage is negligible.
Yeah.
If we're talking ABS or ASA, I mean, you're talking about a 2% shrinkage minimum.
Yeah.
And I don't know how well PrusaSlicer compensates for that.
Mm-hmm.
I've not tried, honestly, mixing ABS or ASA in with anything other than using PLA as a support for it.
Sounds like an opportunity for a future science experiment.
Yeah. We've got a science specialist listening to this show. They might come up with a couple ideas. So yeah.
Well, if he wants to do more experiments with that, and if he's doing any SLS or SLA resin printing, resin shrinkage is something that is voodoo black magic.
I believe it.
It's what I've found is that the shrinkage it's going to vary between every material you use, vary based on how long you're curing, each layer, but it's also going to vary based on your X, Y, and Z. The tensions in the part are just going to be in different ways as it cures, and it's going to pull in different ways.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen internal dimensions be larger than they should be, while externals were smaller.
Wow.
Was that a challenge with your derby car? Or I guess you just had to worry about nail holes, right? Or...
Yeah, the nail holes, I had just undersized them a little bit, and so I could use them as a guide to drill.
Mm-hmm.
And I had just, reamed the holes out with the drill. And I wish I still had that. I think that was one of the prints that didn't make the move.
Oh.
So
I have like a whole series of shelves going down our stairwell of derby cars over the years.
Oh my. Well, the model was done in collaboration with Fix 'em Dude. It is on printables. So if anybody wants to try it out, it's there.
And Fix 'em Dude, I think I saw in the chat earlier. So
okay. Yeah, he is here.
So I can show you another practical project I'm working on that another collaboration with Fix 'em Dude. So that is the outside of it.
Looks like a katana.
It's a Japanese blade called a kiridashi. It's a single edged blade. It's most commonly used as a marking knife. And these are, it's not in there, good. You can buy the blank just like this. In fact, most people will leave it just like this, but I decided to print scales for it. So did one side, and then as a sheath, I just did a matching piece that matched the curvature.
Mm-hmm.
They go up against each other. So this is one of the prototypes, and that's why it's a little bit loose. The way it's designed, if the camera will pick it up, there's a hole on either side on there, so you can basically shove a toothpick or a piece of filament into there to keep compression on the blade. But the next evolution in this is Fix 'em Dude is working on a textured wrap that'll follow the same pattern but look like it was has a cord wrapped around it.
Wow!
Texture. So
yeah, looking more traditional that way.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh, that's cool. And so, you're talking about, you talked to a couple important things you touched on there. You talked about it being a prototype. You talked about being in development and stuff like that. And I really have been sitting here wondering about, what software you use for designing. Are you agnostic? Do you use just one?
I'm purely Fusion 360.
Oh.
So I am modeling challenged. With the day job, I do 2D CAD, wiring diagrams, that sort of thing.
Oh.
So I can draw lines and connect them to boxes and stuff. But
mm-hmm.
When it comes to visualizing the shape of something like this, or even like an earlier prototype where it's more boxy and didn't have the shape to it yet.
Mm-hmm.
I'm learning how to do that in Fusion 360, but my mind doesn't work, in that manner.
The three-dimensionally, you mean?
Yeah, I can see things in my head, but translating that into the components and the pieces. I remember doing that one.
I think there's also a taco boy in the same video.
Yeah. The basic stuff like this in Fusion 360, I've learned to do, and I don't want to say this is probably the most complicated thing that I've done, but for me, it's got some intricacies with the repeating patterns and being able to create a shape on top of a shape to get it. So I rely heavily on friends like Mike, Fix 'em Dude, and Bugman over in the UK to
mm-hmm.
Help. I need help, and to coach me through when I need it. So.
Yeah, well, Fusion 360 came out around about, I know I'm gonna get this wrong, 2017, 2018.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. I remember talking to some folks at Fusion. They were like, "Yeah, we're coming out with this new lighter software that anybody can use," and so it's great that you actually use it and you do these practical things with it. That's fascinating.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
You could pretty much model anything in Fusion 360. It's just, well, I can't, but people with the skill set too can probably model anything in Fusion 360. It's just, finding the right way to do it and having your mind work that way. All the shapes are there. My system.
Yeah, systems all over the world.
So I couldn't do anything I do without the people that help me out.
Well, that's the community. That's why we do the show, actually.
Yeah,
that's great.
That's exactly it.
So I think, Chris, it's been a long time since you and I were on screen together. So I think we both mentioned we have a lot to catch up on. Did you know I have a teenager now? Like all my babies from back then are teenagers.
He was, last time I saw the kids were in 20. Was it 23? No, 22.
You might have seen them at the Derby races. Yeah.
That was 22 though, I think, wasn't it?
Oh, okay.
Because 23 we were starting to get ready to move, so I don't think we made it last year. Or was it? Yeah, I think it was 22.
Okay. I messed up the date in the introduction, everybody.
No, that's okay. It might have been 23. All the years blur together at this point, right?
Yeah.
Oof. Yeah.
So I have a practical print to share with you if you want. Anybody here in chat or here, Lawrence or Chris, do you have a bidet yet?
Not yet. I was just looking at that as a Christmas gift.
Yeah.
Not yet.
Yeah, we got one for Christmas a few years ago. Oh, what were you going to say, Chris?
I was going to say all the in-laws back in Japan, every toilet they have has the heated seat and the both the front and the back bidet.
Yeah, so I would say like bidets and towel warmers are two things in your bathroom that are like you don't anticipate it, but they're going to be life changing, or you can get addicted to both of them really fast.
Yeah,
that can ruin my day when I get out of the shower and I forgot I didn't turn on the towel warmer and I have to use a room temperature towel to dry off. But anyways, what I didn't anticipate was the younger generation getting they really appreciate the bidet. I guess that's what they grew up with. And in February, we had a great tragedy. The knob on our bidet broke. And so luckily it was horrible. But we found a model. It might have been on Thingiverse or printables or whatnot. And they maybe 30, 45 minutes later, we were able to fix the bidet. So that's our practical printing. And I went ahead and print 2 of those knobs. So like if that knob breaks, we have a backup that's already in the medicine cabinet.
There you go.
Future proofing.
His look at his little shirt, his bidet shirt.
Wow, that's awesome that you actually found a shirt like that. I mean, that's cosmic.
Well, Amazon,
Amazon, you can get anything.
When you get a person that likes a bidet, they already have a bidet, so you get them a bidet shirt.
That's awesome.
That is.
And so we have a whole other bidet story in the chat. Another bidet that was fixed with 3D printing. Story. No, I'm good. Well, RC Maniac 25. If you were in our household, you would be a hero. You would have accolades.
Yeah, they just wanted a new bidet. That's what it was. RC. Now, how did you design yours, Vicky? Do you remember?
Oh, the bidet knob.
Oh no, you downloaded it.
I downloaded that.
Okay. Yes.
I mean, that's a really good example. And are you familiar with Project Gutenberg?
Project Gutenberg.
Project Gutenberg.
I
don't recall who started it, but it's an online collection of books and manuscripts that are out of trademark or copyright and can be freely distributed. So the goal of the project was to basically create a permanent library or permanent archive of every and any book they can get their hands on. I had always thought that something like this would be great for just the rest of the world, that companies like Ford, for example, or Volkswagen or somebody, if they had discontinued parts for their car or stopped production of it, they post their 3D files to somewhere like this so that 50 years later, if somebody's trying to restore a Volkswagen Carmagia and they need a headlight, you go grab the files and you can and build your own, since it's not available anywhere else.
I think that's a really, really great idea, and I think that it puts you in position to not have to spend hours and hours and hours or days and hundreds of dollars trying to find OEM or old parts.
Right.
Years ago, I used to have an Alfa Romeo Spider.
Okay.
And getting the parts from there. There was one company in the United States that carried parts for it. Mm-hmm. And so, there was no price shopping anywhere, even with the blessing of the internet. There was only one place to go. And so a project like that for commercial products would be very, very useful. Very useful. I think about that kind of thing all the time too. Like, I had to get a part for my washing machine that was 20 years old, and it took me 2 or 3 weeks to get that part. And of course, no washing clothes for 2 or 3 weeks. A project like that for objects is a great idea.
Yeah, and I know we have our libraries like Printables or Thingiverse and such, but those are just such broad libraries. There's no real organization to them. Mm-hmm. I would love to be able to have it down to, 1920 or 1957 Ford Thunderbird, driver's side, seat knob or something.
Right.
And even if it was just somebody had gone to a junkyard and used software on their phone, which is coming a lot better with the LiDAR, and scanned it and uploaded the model as a baseline for somebody to go back through historically and use that to model something or fix the model. I just love to see an archive of the world that way, so that anything could be recreated, anything physical.
I've thought about that too, and I there's there's older cars that really, if they would make it available, you could like the Porsche 944, you know, that nobody wanted to buy back in the 80s. That's still a good looking car. Now almost all of them are completely rusted out or going for $50,000. So, you know, I like that. I've thought about that same kind of concept many times. So, wow, great minds think alike, Chris, I guess.
I do want to pivot a little, and I want to talk a little bit about the 1440 makers, if you're up to addressing that, Chris.
Absolutely. So it was going to be in December. Well, you already know all this, Vicki, but because you're intimately involved with it. But we are pushing out the dates because of just availability of folks around the holidays to January 11th and 12th. And we're trying something different this time. Rather than doing a 24-hour long stream singular, we're going to break it up into two 12-hour streams in 2 days in a row.
Oh.
Just to see how it goes this time, because what we've always found is that we try to make it, you know, friendly for the entire world, right? It's a global thing, and we always end up with dead zones in the middle of the night where, you know, you just passed Europe and it's the middle of the night and Australia's still sleeping or just going to bed. It hasn't got around to the US yet. And unfortunately, we don't have a lot of participants from Southeast Asia and, you know, those parts of the world. So we're going to try to break it up under two 12-hour streams and then work with some other creators that aren't necessarily part of the streams this year to fundraise on their own channels in their off time.
Yeah, this last year, what was that second shift that I did that was like 4 to 3 or 4 in the morning?
I think so, yeah.
But it's worth it. It's fun.
That was 1 o'clock in the morning my time back then. So you were getting up if you'd even gone to bed, and I
slept a couple hours and then got up.
Okay. Yeah, we are going to miss sleep deprived Shane. So Shane is really the one that deserves almost all the credit for this one. Back when we did the very first one for the Australia brush fires, I think that was right before the pandemic, back in 2019. Shane came up with the idea, and then we took it from there and just kind of, you know, built it together as a team, and we wrote people in for the panels and stuff, and he's really been the driving force behind organizing it. So he gets all of the credit for that. And he has us helping out. Like, you have your own panel that you're enlisting folks for this year, and you're driving that. And we're going to have some new panels, a lot of the old panels that we've had in the past, but we're trying to bring in new faces and modernize it. The charity this year is going to be World Central Kitchen. So rather than addressing a singular place that's in need this time, we're going to give to a charity that helps everybody globally, and focus on feeding people. And the nice thing about that is it's a direct donation to the charity. So it doesn't have to go to us first, and then we have to, you know, put it all together into a check and mail it off and deal with currency conversion and everything. And it's a direct.
Now, last year there's some rewards when people donated that involved you guys eating disgusting things. Is that continuing? I'm isolated from that because I'm just like a little panel person. I don't have to do that.
Shane says no.
Okay.
I kind of told him, I said, look, you know, what else do I bring to the table other than eating spicy jerky? And, you know, but I think that put him overboard a little bit last year. He doesn't want to see anybody in pain, including himself this year. Now, that said, you know, the streamers that are streaming in between the two 12-hour streams on their own channels, if they want to do incentives like that, that's on them. So maybe we'll get some shenanigans there.
Yeah, and I think Carson didn't. It got to her stomach after a while, I think. Too.
Yeah, it got Carson. We had some fun with the Lego guys last year. I mean, that was myself and Amish Ace We ended up eating that entire bag of atomic jerky, and I don't think either of us was right for a week.
But you did it for a good cause.
We did do it for a good cause. Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And so you started the first one to benefit for the Australian forest fires, right?
Right.
Or was it California fires? Australia?
It was Australia when they were having all the fires in Australia. The second one that we did wasn't really a fundraiser. It was just kind of a, hey, we're still here and we're thinking about you kind of stream, trying to bring everyone back together.
Mm-hmm.
And that was early in the pandemic in 2020 or end of 2020, back when everybody was doing everything kind of virtually.
Yes.
And the next one after that was for Maui.
Okay, yeah.
And then we had a little bit of time in between them. And then this next one, we're trying to evolve it.
World Kitchen.
For anybody that missed it, if they haven't figured out what the 1440 is, that's a 24-hour day. There's 1,440 minutes in a 24-hour day.
There we go.
Was it seconds or minutes?
Minutes.
Minutes.
Wow. Okay, cool. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And what was people do all kinds of things with their community. Why did you pick 3D printing as a community to work with, to do something beneficial like this?
So that's part of it. It's actually it's less meant to be 3D printing and more meant to be making and crafting. It unfortunately, we always punt back to 3D printing and 3D printing folks because that's who and what we know.
Mm-hmm.
You go with the people that you know, but we each year we've been trying to expand that. So there's a cosplay panel. We have an LGBTQ plus. Yeah, I think I got them all. Panel. Vicky's running our ladies panel, women in 3D printing this year.
And the one in the middle of the night last year was crafting. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
we had a crafting one. We had some others that dropped out last year. We kind of just lumped them together. We didn't have enough for a full panel, but we were trying to bring in leather workers, woodworkers, and anybody that's in the traditional making arenas.
Mm-hmm.
But also, the modelers and the designers and the people that work on the digital side as well. Groups of people that just enjoy building the 3D printers.
Yes.
The Voron guys and these days, and we let them geek out for a couple hours, and it turns into a lot of fun. We've had some decent celebrities, joining us. We've got Dave Hewitt both times has popped in from Stargate and
wonderful
other fame. And I probably just said his last name wrong. Sorry, David. Joel always pops in, of course. First year, I think we had a little bit of a donating war between Joseph Prusa and Mike from Atomic.
Okay.
One up each other. We've had some other celebrities. We did get last year as a surprise. Amy Double D was on the cosplay panel, but we also had a Lego panel that year, and so we got her to come in as a surprise for the guys on the Lego panel.
Wow!
She's the Lego master.
Mm-hmm.
So that was really exciting for them. So, and we are. Shane has been working it like crazy. We probably have some of the greatest prizes this year to try to keep people around. I can't talk about what they are, but there's some really good ones. It's our best year yet for prizes. Of course, there's no obligation to donate to win the prizes. You just have to be around to win.
Wow. Okay.
Just an incentive to try to get people excited and to be there and participate.
Wonderful.
Yeah, you don't need to try. I'm definitely excited. Looking forward to it.
It's gonna be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Now, do we want to pivot again and talk a little bit about slicing?
Sure.
All right. So one thing that caught my eye this week is Chris is, a lot of us are wrapping gifts for the holiday season. And Chris has a story where he was able to solve an issue with 3D printing.
Absolutely. Let me reach behind me and grab one of these quick. I'm terrible at wrapping presents, and so I came up with just a quick way to use PrusaSlicer. You measure your gift, you print out, drop in a cube or a rectangle in this case, print it out in a spiral vase, and you've now got, size to your gift, custom wrapping paper. You stick a bow on top if you want to. You can reuse it the next year. If you have something, I have a feeling these are probably going to go to my grandkids to use as building blocks after the holidays. They're spiral based, so they're not going to hold up to a lot, but they don't take a lot of material, so you can just use leftover ends of your spools, whatever you have laying around, samples even for smaller boxes. Vicky had shown some, and I think she was decorating some of hers earlier.
Oh, yeah, we can show. You want to show? Are you going to show your PrusaSlicer, or do you want me to?
Well, if you want to show yours quick, I can. I have PrusaSlicer up, and either way.
Okay. So what I did, let me grab a picture real quick. Let's see if this will work here. I like to kind of test the techniques out that we're going to talk about. So, of course, I went ahead and this one here, this red one, and actually, I think this is a winner from one of when we had to do a virtual Earth with the filament contest. I think this is one of those Protopasta winners of where they invent your own filament contest.
That looks like the Amy Double D Blood of My Enemies.
It's not. It's I can't remember what it's called, but it was from Earth 2021.
Oh wow!
But now I know what to do. Like, it was a limited run, so now I know what to get when I run out of this. So super duper easy. Chris used PrusaSlicer, but of course I did this on the Baby Mini. If I can get this up, so like he was showing, you can right click and add primitives. You could add your shapes. You make it the right size, and then, believe it or not, everybody, I don't think I did any spiral based prints until we started doing this How Would You Slice That show. Like, I've never explored that. So you just put the spiral base on, and you do the preview, and easy peasy, fast print. So then what I wanted to do was try to use that sublimation technique that we learned with the transparency sheets back in with Sarah from LabCraft Studio. Earlier this year episode. But in order to do that, your thing has to be like where you're getting the pattern is what's on the print bed. So I brought up PrusaSlicer and I just started making it like little shapes for folding. And these creases, I have to give 100% credit to Karen Chow Designs. She's a frequent viewer, and she was a guest, I think in March, or maybe, well, she was a guest earlier this year. But she does these amazing gift card holders that I printed in PLA. I was printing them for teachers. Let me throw that up here. And they fold really well. And so I just took her design and I looked at what she used for her creases and her crevices, which was, I think there was a 0.3 millimeter layer, and then the gaps were 0.8 millimeters. So I just kind of mimicked that in my PrusaSlicer. So the only problem that I ran into, these are all these different shapes and everything. When I went to go slice it, which I think it's already in the slicing. Click over here. When I went down, it was noticing these are all separate objects, so it wasn't, it was putting gaps in these, and I wanted them to be connected so I can kind of fold them up. And so what I ended up doing was just doing the file, export as export the STL, the project is STL. And that's what we did with our little hack with our little Benchy STL for coloring and getting it into Bamboo Studio and everything like that. That was ages ago. But I exported it as STL. I opened up a new project with it, and then everything was kind of connected. I think I can prove that if we want. Some projects for printing. And so then when that got sliced, then all of a sudden I have like a full first layer. So I made my little, it's my new, like, I'm a one-trick pony now.
That's a dog
really
on a trick, though.
But so I made this is a transparency sheet. It's actually transparent. There's just a white piece of paper behind it, but I ran it through a color printer, and then you just went ahead and printed on top of it. You tape it down with painter's tape. We've seen this before. It's not new. And when you pull it off, it grabs the pattern. And then from there, I just started folding it. And then I glued it. So Karen Chow's dimensions for the crevices worked perfectly.
Wow.
So that's how I sliced that.
That's awesome. So you took what I did and basically took it to the next level. That's really cool.
Yes, congratulations. That's beautiful.
Do you two remember velocity painting?
Yes.
I've never done it.
Yes, I do.
Okay.
I love velocity painting. Yeah.
It's a technique that seems to have been long forgotten, but for those watching, velocity painting, you could basically put an image on your model, and it would wrap it around it. And what it would do is it would change the thickness of the walls to create that image by speeding up or slowing down the extrusion, so it's thicker or thinner in those areas. And there was a point where I believe Cura had a plugin that would allow you to do it, but I don't believe it was ever permanently in it. I would love to see a velocity painting revival, because taking that to something like this, where you can take your spiral vase and, for example, throw your benchies onto the four sides of it, and just have it speed up or slow down, so it's a very subtle, almost like a watermark on the sides of the box.
That could be a whole show, right?
Yeah, but unfortunately, nobody's really supporting doing it anymore. But I'd love to see that, make it into. Joe, if you're watching, Mickey, if you're watching, bring back velocity painting, please.
Creatrix Britt, can you pull up her question?
Oh, oops, wrong one. But that's interesting too. Okay. Was it a UV wrap? I think, is she asking about the?
Yeah, I think she's asking about it. It wasn't a UV wrap. No.
It was not in this case, but I think certainly I could have maybe taken advantage of like the color changing and maybe wrap that. Well, I guess this is like UV wrap in real life, I guess. But it was I printed on top of a transparency sheet, and that's how the pattern got on.
That makes sense.
And was it using the same placement data? No, it's just randomly. Mine, if I want to get interested in the placement, I'll start the print and see where the skirt is or whatnot, and then I will stop it, and then I'll tape my pattern on there. But for the most part, like this one, I'm just like, somewhere in the bed, there's going to be benchies. So I didn't have to be exact with where I was placing it.
I think the randomness makes it look more like real paper, because I mean, granted, the paper is usually going to be printed in a pattern, but you never know where you're going to position your box or your gift on that paper, and it's always going to end up pretty random anyway.
Yeah, you change the angles and everything, especially when you assemble it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, well, thank you for sharing, because I would have, you explained it better and expanded on that. So.
Oh yeah, sure, anytime.
Absolutely. Yeah, I definitely can appreciate the sublimation printing technique. I do not have that hardware at my house.
Well, I don't have a sublimation printer, but we have a color printer and transparency sheets. So
Yeah,
Lawrence,
I don't even have a printer.
The stack of transparency sheets that I bought on Amazon is way more than I'm going to use in my lifetime. So if anybody wants any transparency sheets, or if you want anything printed on transparency sheets, I can.
I wonder how that would work with like old overhead projector transparencies that you don't have to have random math problems or something scrolled out across the entire thing.
That would be like a nice little teacher gift, I think, too.
Yeah.
Or from, like our music teachers would use that to write out all the notes for whatever you're learning that day, and you end up with a piece of sheet music on the overhead projector sheet.
Yeah. Oh, that's like cool.
That. Interesting as well.
Good idea. Good idea. Yeah. Yeah, the transparent. I mean, that transparency, it makes so much sense. I mean, the ink gets laid down through heat, so there's no real reason why you wouldn't be able to pull it up. But I'm glad that we're able to roll that one out and learn about it here and start using it in all kinds of creative ways. So yeah. So Chris, with the single wall box and things of that nature, have there been any other kind of slicer directed or slicer kind of located techniques that you have liked or have used it in your practice recently?
Actually, yes. I used a cylinder. My daughter had asked us to save toilet paper rolls, the cardboard for her, because she wanted to make a bunch of stuff for our granddaughter. And she needed like 50 of them, and we don't go through toilet paper that quickly. So I just measured a roll, created a sphere, a cylinder on PrusaSlicer, and did the exact same thing. I did no top layers, no bottom layers, and just extruded the perimeters and had a plastic toilet paper holder.
Wow, and you could do it more colorfully that way too.
Between bidets and toilet paper, we have a theme tonight.
I'm seeing a theme. Wow.
Yeah, spiral vase is handy for a lot of things. I've used it to make measuring scoops for like when we've had pet sitters. So, to kind of make them a measuring scoop that they can use that's kind of disposable, or like if you take your dog to the kennel, you never get your stuff back.
Oh.
We're lucky to get the collar and the leash back half the time, but we never get any leftover food or any toys or anything. We sent it home with the wrong person.
Yeah.
So you can use a spiral vase just to throw something very quickly together that if they lose it, it's it's on them for exposing plastic to the planet.
Right. Wow, that's a great idea for something that doesn't need to be super durable or long lasting. That's really a great tool. I've used spiral vase for exactly what it is prescribed for, which was when I was into doing that, making tall, slender vases on my Delta printers. So
I've heard that vase mode works really good with the chocolate printers. So I will probably be getting more familiar with spiral vase mode in the future.
Yes, you're gonna have to. You're gonna have to. How now? Do you have the tools? You ready to put yours together, or?
Yeah, I just need to find table space now.
Interesting.
We talked about velocity painting. Let's see if I can get that without the glare. So you can see the sea turtles in there. This is a spiral vase with the sea turtles velocity.
I can see Hawaiian flower.
Yeah.
Up top.
So the head of the turtle, and they start down here at the bottom. It's really hard to show with that glare, but Nope, that's worse.
How long ago did you do that? This is
2017.
way back in the day.
Yeah, this is actually Russell Blue. It was my own.
Someone asked, Fixum Dude asked. He called it.
That is Russell Blue. There was a guy in Pennsylvania who was making filament early on. Company was All Pro 3D, or all professional plastics.
Mhm.
I was working with him to try to come up with a color that was very similar to the San Diego Chargers powder blue for their powder blue uniforms. This was the closest that we got. We liked that it was slightly transparent. And so he just ended up releasing it as Russell Blue. And I think there's still archives on it on Amazon.
Oh, really?
You could Google the color. It still pops up every now and then.
You have a filament named after you.
Yeah.
Wow.
Filament One tried
If
to.
I knew that, that would have been in the introduction.
Oh,
that is one that I don't think I'll ever get.
Material.
yeah. It's Filament One was going to try to recreate the color for me, and they were never able to get it quite right. They got close, but they couldn't do it in both PLA and PETG. And I just haven't had a chance to talk with any other manufacturers to see if it could be recreated. But I saved this print specifically because since it's spiral face and single wall, you shine the light through it to try to get the opacity to measure it.
Yeah, I read about velocity printing when it first came out, and I used it several times. But I do not. I'm looking through my phone, not being rude.
No.
Looking through my phone to try to find a picture of it right now, but I'm not sure that I'm able to pull one up in time.
Yeah, I haven't really heard much about that since, I don't know.
It was a brilliant idea. It was a brilliant idea.
I mean, I remember there was a post processor that you could create your G code. You go into this little post processor, dump your G code in, and dump your image in, and it would adjust the speeds in your G code.
Yeah, I think I saw that site recently, actually.
Yeah. But I'd love to see it, integrated as a feature into a slicer. I mean, the technique's kind of worthless on anything but a single wall print, but
right,
it's still
very, very effective when you see. Oh, here we go.
Find something.
Yeah.
There you go.
Hold on, let me put you in solo layout. There you go.
Okay. So I did this. I don't know. I do not know what filament this is, but I was demonstrating velocity painting for a class that I was teaching, and so this is my daughter's name in script on a single vase, on a single wall vase. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
very cool.
I was blown away when I was able to do that. That's I personally, I didn't know that it was varying the width. So thanks for clarifying that. I literally thought that you were able to kind of manipulate the spectrum of light using speed, right? Because
that's what it is. It's using speed, but by speeding it up in places, it makes it extrude a thinner wall.
Yeah, it does.
Or you slow it down. It's like how faster you're moving the garden hose, right?
Right.
You're not changing your pressure. You're just changing how fast you're moving it. And with the same amount of plastic coming out of the nozzle, it either builds it thicker or thinner to create that look.
Yeah. And it's effective. I was really, really surprised that it actually turned out. One of those kind of super theoretical things that really played out well. And you got to have a filament that is transparent or translucent as you're doing it.
Yeah. I can picture the math involved in trying to figure out how to make that work, though.
Yeah, I don't think there's too much figuring. I think there's just like cut it in half or speed it up or whatever. They didn't. I don't think they thought that much about it because it was also free.
Yeah,
that's it. That's the other part of it.
I don't know. I do a lot of free stuff, and it's
Well, I mean,
it's got a lot of thought
well, I
and
guess
brute
you're right.
force in it.
You're right. Yeah, you're right. You're right. Yeah, if somebody,
PrusaSlicer is still free.
the what?
PrusaSlicer is still free.
Still free. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, yeah. Right. And Slicer before it became PrusaSlicer was effective and free as well. So, and this is open source technology. We are open source and free kind of how-tos all over the place as part of the community as well. So
yeah,
thank you for pointing those points out. That's a very, very good. Those are very, very points well taken. Yep. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, so we're getting on this 110. We've been on
yeah. Hey, one quick note, that folding thing I showed with Karen Chow's creases, I think we could apply those to Q-Forges too, maybe. And one of the use cases that's bubbling in my mind is my son's Minecraft skins. Like you already have them kind of flat when you design them, and maybe we can put the creases in the right place and fold them up. Like Q-Forge the Minecraft skin and make a little
great
thing.
idea.
Anyways, something for the future.
Yes.
That's a really good idea.
Okay. Hey, high note. You know, like how George Costanza went through a phase where I'm dating myself, but he would like want to live on the high note. Like, oh, that's it. I'm out. You said I had a good idea.
Leave him wanting more.
This is good. As usual, the time goes by really, really fast. And Chris, I'm not cutting you off. Or is there anything else you wanted to share?
No, but you and I do need to catch up when we get some time.
Yes, of course.
Get you some pictures of the grandkids.
Yes, yeah.
You're almost fun.
Yeah, I think I got one. The Earth 2022. Maybe you sent me a message. So yeah, things can change in 2 years.
In fact, it was 2022 because she was born the weekend after that. So we were worried about me being able to make it if she went into labor early. So she was born a week after 22 because she's 2 now. Wow. So all right, that's it. We start the entire stream back over at the beginning.
And correct that. It is 22.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Chris, for joining. Thank you, everybody that was in the chat. It was a very lively chat tonight, and I appreciate that. How Would You Slice That is live on Tuesdays that are prime numbers. Lawrence and I have talked, and we're going to continue into the 2025 year, which is good because things were. I was starting to, like there was only a few shows left in 2024, and I'm like, oh my gosh, there's all these people that are so amazing. Like, how are we going to fit them all in? And now we have more shows to do that with. Our next episode is going to be in 2 weeks, which is New Year's Eve. And it's going to be a little bit of a different episode. We're not going to have a guest. Lawrence and I are just going to get together and stream and recap our year and some of our highlights. And we're going to do that early. We're going to do it at 12:30 p.m. Eastern time, so we can have some time with our families. I think my family and I are going to do a New Year's fire pit outside, like a little campfire.
Oh, that sounds fun.
We love community involvement with How Would You Slice That? So if you ever want to be on the show, you just let us know. I also have a website where you can fill in a Google form, or if there is a certain model that you're having trouble with that maybe you want to run by someone on the show, you can submit a form for that. Gosh, this is always I said this last week too. This is the hardest part for me, but I am very, very grateful that you choose to spend your Tuesday nights with us and that you weather our weird schedule. But thank you, everyone who is watching, and thank you, Chris, for being our last guest of 2024.
Thank you so much. Absolutely.
Right. Goodbye, everybody.
Have a good night. Take it easy.